My lords, today I bring disturbing news. We might be responsible for the downfall of the Zroni Empire, the first and most powerful psionic empire that we are aware existed in our galaxy. If you can believe it, Dr. Asimov, during routine exploration of an astral rift in the Nimbus system, encountered what we believe to be a Zroni individual, on the cusp of an extremely important decision. A special thank you to Chairman Viz, who is assisting the Commonwealth greatly in this report. I shall begin with a brief recap of who the Zroni were. As stated, they were incredibly powerful psionics, and they quickly learned of the Shroud and the entities that dwelled within. We know that the Zroni were able to psionically enter the Shroud dimension, and acquired the ability to manipulate its essence to their whim. They created a utopia unlike anything that had ever been seen, or would likely ever be seen again. Imagine for a moment the power to create any thought as reality in a heartbeat. It is no wonder that they were infatuated by this power. Furthermore, the Zroni quickly discovered that the Shroud touches all physical space simultaneously. They had the ability to enter at one physical point and psionically jump to any other part of the known galaxy. It is perhaps because of this power we found very little evidence of expansion in the physical realm. They only occupied a handful of planets, seemingly content to explore the psionic realm instead. The Shroud, it seems, enveloped their entire culture, science, entertainment, and all walks of life were ultimately pushed aside in order to fuel the need to enter the Shroud. As I mentioned earlier, the Zroni were aware that other entities lived within the Shroud. Some Zroni began to speculate that these entities were having a subtle impact on their culture. This group believed that these entities were powerful manipulators and were trying to subvert the Zroni to their will. We don't know exactly when, but at some point the Zroni learned that their new powers came at a great cost. They learned that the supermassive black hole at the center of the galaxy, the same one that we see today, was growing. And it soon became clear that this was fueling their ability to manipulate the Shroud. With every change the Zroni made in the Shroud, the black hole grew larger, consuming the mass of the physical galaxy and siphoning the energy back into the Shroud. This discovery shaped the way the Zroni civilization would come to an end. Debate engulfed their civilization, and two sides formed, the Divine and the Saviors. Argument led to division, and division eventually turned into a fully fledged civil war. The Divine felt that the fate of the physical galaxy was no concern of theirs. Of course, they would continue to live as gods within the Shroud, irrespective of what happened to the rest of the galaxy. The Saviors, however, were aghast at this. They had no wish to live in a manner that they viewed as parasites, preying on other races. Siphoning energy from the physical world to fuel their base desires was an abhorrent thought. Besides, even without their ability to enter and manipulate the Shroud, their psionics still guaranteed them a near-utopian existence. Most of the records available to us at this point focus only on the Civil War. The majority of the Zroni population sided with the Saviors. While this gave them a significant advantage, the Divine were unshackled and able to use the full might of the Shroud, whereas the Saviors were limited to the power that they could draw from within their own bodies. In any other war, this would likely have been enough, but the power of the Shroud fueling the Divine was great, and the Divine was sure to win this war. That is until a discovery was made by a Savior scientist. The records are not clear with a name, but merely call him a hero. He theorized that he could turn his psionic power upon himself, consuming himself in a chain reaction. This hero put his theory into action, and all that remained was a dusty residue. That residue is what we now know to be Zero. This dust was essentially the sum of his total psionic potential, and could be used by another psionic to extend their abilities far beyond what they could accomplish alone. This great sacrifice turned the tide of the war. The Divine began to lose, and became increasingly desperate. In their desperation, they began to spawn ever-increasing horrors, shaping the Shroud into beings beyond all measure of rage and madness. The war, it seems, was not over, and would not end with victory for either side. The Divine had fallen beyond all measure of reason. According to the reports, a pact was made with one of the entities occupying the Shroud, a pact named the end of the cycle. The divine strategy would be to expend untold energy in order to grow the supermassive black hole at the center of the galaxy exponentially, effectively wiping out the physical galaxy and the saviors with it. Fortunately for us, this did not happen. The saviors en masse made their way to their capital world of Zroni, a world that still exists today, however cleaved in two by psionic energy. It is here that the saviors made the ultimate sacrifice to stop the divine's madness. Every savior except one consumed themselves, channeling the power of their entire species into one lone Zroni. The lone Zroni used this immense power to end the existence of the divine, killing himself in the process. In a snap of a finger, the Zroni were completely annihilated and turned to dust, ending the threat of the divine for good. Or, so we thought. Dr. Asimov now reports on the exploration of the rift in the Nimbus system. We arrived in the atmosphere of a frozen, mountainous Arctic world. Almost immediately, we were shaken by a powerful mental communication. A voice spoke directly into our minds. It said, "Greetings. You have travelled far. From the depths of my meditations, I sensed your journey across the Astral Planes. Come, let us meet. Perhaps your arrival is the breakthrough I have been waiting for." A vision of an isolated mountain cave was revealed to us. To detect our presence so soon, and to broadcast a message from such a distance, implies this mysterious stranger must possess incredible psionic powers. We traced the vision to a point on one of the planet's highest mountains. The planet appeared mostly deserted, but we did see some birds that looked an awfully lot like overgrown pigeons flying in the distance. Eventually, we came across a masked figure, sat meditating in an isolated cave. Grey-skinned and humanoid, she was enveloped in a violet aura of gently pulsating energy. Glowing horns sprouted from the alien's head, with similar, though stunted spurs extending from her back. The species was not from our galaxy. They were clearly highly attuned to the psionic wavelengths. I thought she might be a Zroni. We again heard the alien in our minds. "Thank you for accepting my invitation. We have much to discuss. I am known as a Farseer. I've been meditating here on this Arctic world for years, awaiting a revelation. It is not by chance alone that you have appeared here." The Farseer continued, "I have been channeling my efforts to enter a spiritual dimension. Your people refer to this place as the Shroud. Recently, I have felt a strange call that I believe has come deep from within the Shroud. And now, I stand upon the threshold of this mysterious world for the first time." She sighed. "My people have entrusted me with this responsibility. Entering the Shroud may indeed grant us great power, but I am full of doubt. The closer I come, the more the Shroud pulls at me. There are whispers in the dark corner of my mind. Can such a power truly be controlled? And now, at the moment of choice, you appear. This cannot be mere coincidence." We chose to offer our perspective on the matter. We explained that we believe the goal of a society is to grow and prosper according to its principles. Embodying one's values on the galactic stage is the true test of any civilization. If entering the Shroud was truly the will of her people, then she had a duty to proceed. The Farseer again responded, "I understand this, but my people's will is divided. Travellers from afar, what guidance can you offer? The burden of decision is too much to bear on my own." We were left with a choice. Do we encourage the Farseer, who we believe was a Zroni, to enter the Shroud, knowing her potential fate? Or do we discourage her and suggest she stay limited to the physical universe? Dr. Asimov ultimately decided to encourage the Farseer to venture into the Shroud and attempt ascension to a higher existence. The Farseer accepted our advice as prophecy and gave her thanks. She offered us a small yet oddly heavy data crystal and bade us to leave her realm. Analysis of the crystal revealed a subtly shifting matrix. It is a vast archive stored as psionic energy, and the information within will provide deep insights into psionic theory. We wonder if we will ever see her again. if not just to experience her presence touch our minds one last time. Sadly, we did not hear from her again, but after several years had passed, we detected a perfectly smooth capsule emerging from the rift that we had originally explored in the Nimbus system. The capsule contained within a simple message, and it said, "Thank you, Dr. Asimov of the Commonwealth, for your fated visit. The Zroni people have now not only breached the Shroud, but our population has begun to migrate into it permanently. The Shroud provides us with incredible power and harmony. We are experiencing a societal utopia the likes of which we could never have imagined, and we wish to share some of our material riches with you before we depart the physical world entirely." The crystal then opened up, and the insights contained within will surely drastically increase our research speed on particle physics. Furthermore, we believe that these insights will help safeguard us from the negative effects of space storms, as well as provide increases in energy and rare crystal production. Quite the story, my lords, and quite the outcome. It is truly remarkable to think that had we cancelled caution to the Zroni, perhaps their reality, and perhaps ours, would be shaped quite differently. I wonder if we made the correct decision. Nevertheless, the insights that we have received are going to be a great boon for the Commonwealth. I wonder if the Zroni will suffer the same fate. Thanks for watching, folks. If you want to hear more Stellaris lore, please click the video on screen now.